Welcome everybody. Thank you for joining our Platform Academies. We're getting started at the top of well, not the top of the hour anymore, but I'm Patty Montesinos, your Platform Outbound Product Manager and today's host. And we have an incredible session lined up today. We can't wait to dive in. But before we get started, we're going to go over some quick housekeeping items. These presentations are crafted for you in mind, and our goal is always to inspire you with fresh ideas, practical use cases, and keep you up to date with our latest releases. But don't worry if you miss anything. The session is being recorded, and once we finish the session, we'll make sure to put it available in the community in our Platform Academy forum so you can find it there. Feel free to fire away throughout the presentation with any questions that you have. Just make sure that you put them in the Q&A section, not in the chat. It's really important so that if we don't get enough time to answer those questions, we will make sure to follow up, and we'll also make sure that they're included in the recording so that we can address them. And then the last part is, please remember, at the end of this academy, we'll be sending out a survey, and it's super important for you to fill that out so that we can get feedback on how we can continue to improve on our academies and make them as useful and practical for you. So make sure to fill out those surveys at the end. And last but not least, a quick reminder, please practice Safe Harbor. We might share some exciting new features today, so let's just keep everything compliant with the best practices. So now, further ado, let's get to the good stuff. I'm thrilled to introduce our fantastic speaker, Maria Gabriela. She's always has the latest knowledge on UI Builder. And yeah, take it away, Gabriela.
Hello, everybody. My name is Maria Gabriela Perez Wechter. I love ending on the German Wechter. I'm an outbound product manager here on the Agent Experiences team. I am super excited to tell y'all what is new in Zurich for UI Builder. We're going to just go quickly through this agenda. We got a poll, we got a quick intro to UI Builder, and then we're going to talk about what's new. Now, like I said, we've got a poll, and this is going to be super, super duper important. And I would really appreciate y'all's help with this. We are innovating at a huge and fast pace here at ServiceNow, and being able to bring you guys exactly what you're looking for is super important to us. And we just have a couple of questions on what you're looking for out of your UI building experience. It's a quick 5-question survey. We're going to chill here for a few minutes just to give everybody a chance to tune in and answer, and if we get a bunch of answers, we'll go over them at the end of the session. The questions are, what kind of UI building experience do you prefer when creating end user experiences? It's basically, I should probably, you know what? Let's make sure that that link works as it's being displayed. Okay, it does work. Sick. Awesome. So thank you guys so much. We'll go over the responses. Please feel free to keep bringing them in. We'll go over the responses here at the end so everybody can know how we answered. Let me switch back to my PowerPoint. And I'm going to start with giving a very quick intro to the Next Experience UI framework. We have had this framework for several releases now. It's made up of standard JavaScript web components. It's React-like, but not React. Don't do what I did and try to learn React in order to learn how to code in this. It provides us a standardization that we didn't have before and lets us create more engaging and more standardized UIs. If you guys see me getting a little bit distracted every so often, it's because I set the survey to send me an email every time that someone responds. And we've gotten 53 responses so far. My phone is going. Thank you guys so much. You guys may have heard of Next Experience getting referred to as Seismic. It used to be called the Now Experience Framework, and we sometimes call it UXF. Something that's really cool about it is that you're able to create custom components using the CLI, which is incredibly flexible and powerful, but there's a huge learning curve. This is like the most true code that you can get here before even Fluent was a thing. But spoiler alert, we have something new in the land of custom components coming out. So we're going to talk about that here shortly. Let me make sure that I'm sharing my audio now that I am remembering that. Okay, awesome. So workspaces. The Workspace UI is the innovative new way for our end users to work, for our agents and fulfillers to work inside of ServiceNow. It provides a better customer experience. I did want to quickly point out that we have two workspace types. We have the legacy agent workspace, and we have the configurable workspaces. If you're working on a legacy agent workspace, we suggest that you switch over to the new configurable workspace because they're older technology. They're not very configurable. And if you're not already using them, don't start using them. You should instead be using configurable workspaces. They're the current recommended solution. And if a workspace solution is not available, we suggest to check this slide out. You basically have kind of a three-step process. First, you should see if one of our 50 or 60 plus configurable workspaces fits your need. You should then check and see which product lines have a workspace because most of them have a workspace and they're built to be configurable. So, for example, if a workspace meets 80% of your needs, you should go ahead, grab it, implement it, duplicate the pages, add new variants, and make them work for you. Otherwise, if you are looking for a more custom workspace, you can start with Workspace Builder. It helps you create a workspace for your custom application. You can access it through App Engine Studio or ServiceNow Studio, or you can create it from scratch if you're not licensed for App Engine Studios. We strongly recommend starting from an out-of-the-box workspace if you're thinking about creating one from scratch, because it is going to be a higher level of difficulty. And sometimes some of the out-of-the-box workspaces will contain custom components that are unique to their specific workspace. So we suggest you take a look, and the best way to learn how to do something with workspaces and the best place to find a comprehensive list of available workspaces is going to be on the docs site. Every workspace is different. Every workspace is configured by a different team on our different business units. So find the workspace specific documentation so that way you can learn more about it. We're going to be having a What's New in Zurich for Workspaces session on the 23rd if you want to tune in. And that's basically going to explain the basic platform level features that we're providing for workspaces. But each of the individual workspace teams must then adopt those features. So if you see a new feature that we talk about, but it probably wasn't showing on your workspace yet, that's likely why. And we'll explain more on how to configure that and how to go into that on the 23rd. Is there an easy way to tell if you are using an old agent workspace or a configurable workspace? I like to look at what it looks like because, and I wish I had bigger screenshots of this, but on the left, you can kind of see how it has the old school, like minty green theming. The corners are more square. It looks a little bit more dated versus on the right, it adopts the unified navigation theming. You can see the gradient on the left side menu, and it's looks more modern. The best way really is to go ahead and check out the documentation. It can be confusing because we literally have a configurable workspace called HR agent workspace, but it's not an agent workspace. It's a configurable workspace. They're just for HR agents. So depending on how you say it, it can be a little bit confusing. Worst case scenario, chat with your account team and see what they say. They should be able to get you a direct answer to that.
Gabby, the next question, I accidentally clicked on live, the wrong one. It's regarding VTP product, the visual task board.
Yeah, so the question is, when will the visual task board product get the next experience treatment? What's the best way to create a modern, intuitive board UI from records and tables? So that's actually a really, really good question. It's kind of a tough one. We haven't officially created a visual task board experience yet in Next Experience. So the visual task boards that currently exist kind of are your best experience. But if you're adventurous and you want to go out there and try your best, we do have the Kanban board component, which is a very complex component that we have some documentation out on the community on how to configure. And you can make your own workspace experiences with boards using that. It's going to have to be like configured very specifically for your use case, and it is a complex configuration, but we have videos and documentation out there that should help you get started on that. Michael, that is a really great question. I'm not quite sure why many are not listed in the list of workspaces. I'll have to look into that and see what's going on there. It probably might just be let me see. No, that's the Yokohama URL. I'm not sure. I'll look into that. So now we're going to talk about UI Builder and what is UI Builder. A UI Builder is basically the page builder for the next experience UI framework. You're able to build pages using column-based layouts, flexbox, or grids. This is a really, really old screenshot of UI Builder, but I love it because it throws back to Brad's like 2023 Fleet Vehicle Management Lab. Now, the biggest question that I usually get is UI Builder and Service Portal. When do I use UI Builder versus Service Portal? These next two slides are going to be the slides to talk about and to check out if you ever have any questions like that. You can also do what I do and Google Brad Tilton Service Portal versus UI Builder, and you'll find his community post on this. But basically, UI Builder creates fulfiller experiences. It's built on and uses ServiceNow's JavaScript framework, built on web component standards. And you can use App Engine Studio to generate a starter portal experience, but it's not going to be as well supported as workspaces are. Meanwhile, Service Portal is the web user interface portal for requester experiences. It is built on and uses Angular 1, like the OG deprecated Angular, as its tech stack. An Employee Service Center is the current recommended service portal for you to implement, but you can create custom service portals yourself. And like Eric said, a great point in the chat, in general, if you see something incorrect on the doc site or something that you want to provide feedback on, please press the thumbs down button at the very bottom of the page to give feedback and let them know what's going on. They are very attentive on what those feedback records are. Can you create a widget in UI Builder, and what technology is behind that? So what's really, really, really cool about UI Builder is that you don't need to create widgets. I used to be a service portal developer. So I know that in Portal, every time you want to make something custom or you want to make the slightest of change to anything, you have to go in and make a custom widget. But with UI Builder, we've created a toolbox of hundreds of components that you can use to create your own experiences and create your own custom components, which we're going to talk about here in a little bit, that act like widgets that you can then reuse on different pages. And you shouldn't need to create from scratch code, things like that in UI Builder anymore. Granted, if you have a very, very specific use case, if you have a very custom solution requirement that maybe isn't able to be done, that's when we can go back to this page and talk about the custom CLI components. These are basically React-like components, very high code, very pro code that you can create and import into your instances and treat them like widgets, but they require a deeper level of knowledge and coding practice than most ServiceNow developers have. But it's a lot of fun. I have a couple of GitHub repositories out there. If you look for the ServiceNow Hackathon GitHub repo, where I explain how to do custom component development before I was an employee. No, it has not gotten updated in the past 3-ish years. I'm almost at 3 years, y'all. So that's something to note. And then this is really the super big, important UI Builder versus Service Portal slide. Basically, when should you use UI Builder versus Service Portal? We have a question in the Q&A. Is this only through Now Assist? And no, nothing that I have spoken about just yet is exclusive to Now Assist. If UI Builder is the new tech, are there plans to port Employee Center Pro to that tech rather than Service Portal? At this time, there are no plans slash it's not currently on the roadmap to port over Employee Center, because Workspace UI Builder really is for the fulfiller experience, whereas Angular service portals are for requester experiences. And we recommend that you create any enterprise portals that require responsive design, pixel perfect design, require a service catalog, and public pages should be built on Angular service portals. UI Builder just provides the framework and building capabilities for workspaces, where more of the target audience are fulfillers. Small departmental portals can also be built in UI Builder, but it's very important to note that public pages are difficult to set up in UI Builder. An extension of like maybe a manager hub for HR, Michael, if you don't need it to be public and you don't need to use any widgets that you may already have created for your Angular service portal, sure, you could make a manager hub for your HR managers using UI Builder. Just remember that you can't use public pages. Very limited support for service catalog. It is responsive like, we call it responsive authoring, but it does not have pixel perfect design. And then can I do UI Builder development in VS Code through a ServiceNow extension? I would suggest that you do all your UI Builder development directly in the tool. I think that like there safe harbor, there might be some ways to do that in the future, but I still think we should use the UI Builder itself. As of now, Michael, there is no roadmap item for that. And Mark, ATF testing in UI Builder pages is supported on a per component basis. So as a whole, maybe not. We're waiting for each individual component team to adopt ATF testing. We have made a lot of strides since this slide was made, so I should probably add an asterisk to it, but it is fully supported for Service Portal. So let's go ahead and move on. I think those two questions I will answer directly later. One thing I wanted to know is that UI Builder has moved to the store as of Washington. So if I say anything and you don't see it in your own UI Builder instances, just go ahead and check the store to make sure that you have the most recent update. Thank you, Michael. So let's go ahead and start talking about what's new in Zurich. Something that I love about UI Builder is the data binding generation, or rather data binding. Data binding allowed you to do a lot of really complex formulas and a lot of really complex data binding between components and data resources in UI Builder. And now you're able to generate data binding with plain words using Now Assist. You're able to simplify the configuration just by telling it what you want. Like, hey, can you concatenate the tenant's first name with a space and then a tenant's city in brackets? And it will generate that for you now using Now Assist. You can reduce errors by removing the need to memorize the syntax or the structure of how certain formulas work. But the formula builder in UI Builder has been very useful even before Now Assist, but now it's just gotten even better. Next, another Now Assist feature is that conversational help has come to UI Builder. It is help that meets you where you work. We are working on making this even more and more useful as our releases come along. Right now, it's going to align any help responses to our ServiceNow product documentation and give you related links in case you have questions like, hey, how do I add a modal? What is a modal? Things like that. It is going to help you out with that. And then we have a couple of demos coming up. We also have Gen AI powered pages and components. You can now embed generative AI into your experiences, and they basically act like data resources. You can activate the Now Assist skills that you have activated on your instance in the data resources panel of UI Builder, and you're able to tie your components to it. Now I have a video here that we are going to try to play, and please let me know in the chat if you can hear the audio. Let me turn it up. Hey everybody, we're going to demo our Gen AI powered components and pages. Thank you. The main change that you'll notice is that now down here we have the Now Assist skills as part of our data resources. If you click on the plus here, you're able to see any of the skills that are available to you on your instance. We're going to go ahead and click on generate content. And the easiest way to think about these is just basically you give an input and it gives you an output. It gives you any error codes, any status messages, and then the response is what we're really looking for. And here it tells you how to run the skills. First, we create an event mapping for any of our components. We choose the execute handler for this particular skill, and then it runs and gives us the response. So let's go ahead and test it out. We're going to add a input field and a stylized text component. And under the input, we're going to go to events. We're going to input Enter key down, and we're going to execute the generate content. And the topic is going to be dynamically bound to field value. We're going to hit apply, add, dynamically bound. Something I want to point out here is that this is the data binding that we just talked about. I'm not using generative AI, but you can see how it says generate data binding with Now Assist. What's really cool about binding data in UI Builder now is that I think it's one of the biggest usability enhancements to UI Builder and one of the biggest roadblocks for me to personally adopt it back when I was a customer as well. Because I always saw Brad's videos and the developer advocates somehow memorizing things like session dot context dot data dot display value. And I always felt like I couldn't do that. Like there is no way that I could memorize that. But this takes care of it for you. I apologize for the graininess, but you can see like on the left, you've got the event payload, you've got the page properties, you've got the data resources, and you've got the client state parameters. Those are all the data available to your page that you're able to visually bind and now generate with AI and be able to use those as shortcuts instead of having to remember everything like that. I just wanted to point that out real quick, and we're almost done with this video. To field value, we're going to hit apply, add. And then the stylized text component, we're going to dynamically bind it to the data resource, generate content, results, response. And we're going to hit apply. We're going to hit save. And let's go ahead and preview and test it. And there it is. I hit enter twice, so that's why it changed halfway through. But that is the basics of how to set up a Gen AI powered page on UI Builder. And that specific skill was one that creates like text summaries for your input information. So it called the LLM, it got my input from the text that I provided, and you can provide input in many different ways. You just have to provide it the text in the event like we had it configured, and then it'll return the information to you. So this is a super simple example, and you can make it look way better than what I made it look. I just wanted to get there for brevity's sake. Now, this next feature is going to be the coolest feature in my opinion. I'm going to show you guys how quickly we can create a custom component in UI Builder now. Now, I know what I just said is kind of confusing, and I 100% agree and understand. So now we have the ability for inside of UI Builder, inside of your instance, you are now able to generate and create your own custom components. Previously, we've talked about controller building, and we've talked about one of the biggest challenges for working with UI Builder as a team is that one person can only be on a page at once. If, for example, John Doe hops on the page while I'm working on it and saves and overrides, that overrides my changes. Now, granted, thanks to some other quality of life improvements that we've made over the years, it will tell him, hey, someone else is on this page. Are you sure you want to save? And kind of try to stop him. But component building really brings a new paradigm of reusability into UI Builder, where you're now able to compartmentalize and put little pieces of functionality together, almost like a widget that you're then able to reuse across different pages. So for example, another big pain point with using UI Builder is that all of the out of the box pages are read only. And we're all worried about making sure that we stay good with upgrades and we're able to upgrade and we're upgrade safe, etc. What component building allows is if you need to make modifications to an out of the box read only page, you're able to duplicate the change, make your changes in a component and add the component. So then that the next time the out of the box page gets updated, you're able to just simply reduplicate it again, get all the new changes, and then just reapply your custom component. Because the way that variants work is that we update the out of the box read-only variant, but the changes will not be cascaded down into your variant that you copied to add your customization. So now you're able to redo hours worth of work without needing to actually redo it. You just put in your component again and boom, you're done. This helps with reusability, which was a big thing that we were lacking before. It's basically UI Builder, and I'm going to show you guys that in a video here. Again, I apologize for the graininess. I'm not quite sure why it's doing that, but hopefully you guys are going to be able to see how quickly we get done with this widget. Excuse me, this component. You guys are tripping me up over here. You guys are going to see how quickly we get done with this component in the new component builder. Our idea is that our service desk needs a way to track how long they've been on calls. So we're creating a stopwatch component for them. And I'm going to go ahead and hit play. Hello, everybody. I am super excited to introduce you to a brand new feature in UI Builder as of the Zurich release. We are calling it Component Builder. We're going to go ahead and click on Create and Component. We're going to call it Stopwatch. Now, this is going to look a lot like what you're used to seeing UI Builder as. It's going to have the same stage. We still have the same content tree in the top left corner. We still have our data scripts, but now we have a couple of new drawers down here that expand and collapse. We have the properties and policies and the events down here. Here you're able to see the dispatched events, any handled events, along with any component properties that we create. Speaking of component properties, let's go ahead and add one. So I want to have a loading animation, and I am going to select a string property to use. I am going to go into the configuration property in the top right corner here, and I'm going to name it SVG image source, and we will add a default value of animated dino.svg. Gonna go ahead and hit save. Next, we're going to add in the basic layout of our component. And let's go ahead and create some of the client state parameters that we're going to need. Gonna go ahead and add down here client state parameters. We're gonna hit apply and hit save again. So now we're going back to our stylized text component, and we're going to change the text, and we're gonna use our dynamic data binding to set it to be one of our client state parameters, elapsed time. So now we can see how long has been running. So next, we're going to go ahead and we are going to add a container inside of the container. I'm going to click on add content, flexbox, and then I'm going to add the conditional renderer component. I'm going to select a single component, going to hit next, and I am going to look for a button iconic and hit next. I want the component label to be start, component ID, start button. And this is going to be our always condition, which should be the one at the very, very bottom. I'm going to add another condition. And this time I'm going to do a empty container. And it's going to be basically the same. We're going to name this one running container. And we're going to set when the condition is data bind. We're going to go to client states and we're going to do stopwatch running. And now we've got our different conditions. Next, we're going to add in the logic of our component. I'm going to create a couple of client scripts. I'm going to add in the start. I'm going to hit apply and hit save. And then I'm going to add in the stop, apply, and then save. Next, we're going to go to our buttons and we're going to add our conditions. So I'm going to select the start button. I'm going to go to events, and when the button is clicked, I want to run my start script. I'm going to hit add. And then when this button is clicked, I want to do the stop. And then one last finishing touch. I went ahead and added an icon up here at the top. I am going to data bind it to our component property for SVG image source. And now we have our little dinosaur. And finally, we're going to go ahead and do one really cool thing is we're going to go into component visibility for the icon. I am going to click on bind data or use scripts, and I'm going to generate data binding with Now Assist. I want Now Assist to make it so the dinosaur only shows up if stopwatch running is false. So I'm going to go ahead and type in here if stopwatch running false. I'm going to hit enter. We're going to go ahead and click accept and edit, hit apply, and hit save. And now we're going to preview our component. And now when we click start, we get our little dinosaur running. Going to hit stop. And now it's recorded the amount of time that we have been on this call. And that's it. We have created our first component building component. Thank you all very much for watching. Awesome. So now I could take that component and literally put it on any page that I wanted, and it'll all be centralized. If I make an update to the component, all my pages will automatically get the update, and I don't have to worry about that. It's super awesome. And if you want to do this yourselves, actually, I have a link that I'm going to put in the chat. Let me grab it. We made a tutorial on how to make this component yourself. It's got all of the scripts, it's got all of the information you need, and a step-by-step to replicate everything that I just did. It is on the doc site. It's under the Create Custom Components to Reuse Across Pages with Component Builder document. And I hope that you guys enjoy it. Leave us any feedback if you have any questions about any steps along the way. Like I said again earlier, the doc writers really keep an eye on whether the topic was helpful, on all of the feedback records that got generated from that. I have one last question here in the Q&A that I wanted to answer. So they have a current requirement for a client who is implementing FSM where the field agents need to see the out-of-the-box dispatcher landing page instead of the shared CSM FSM landing page, which only shows cases, not work orders. If they decide to add an audience configuration for the dispatcher landing page, does that generate a customized component? It does not. And if so, do we need to remind our client to keep an eye on this page on future releases? It does not create a component. What you would likely have to do to add the audience configuration is first I would check and see if the out of the box page lets you configure the audience, in which case you would not need to keep an eye on it for future releases. But if it does not let you edit the audiences and you need to create a variant of the page, then yes, you would have to keep an eye on it for future releases. The best way to do that is I would suggest you keep an eye out for the wow, my words just escaped me. The release notes. I would suggest that you keep an eye out for the release notes and go from there. I'm about to talk about the training resources that we have available, but I wanted to remind everybody real quick again to check out the survey that we have here. Thank you all so very much for participating. We've gotten a lot of participation, but more is always better. I've got about 111 of you who haven't answered yet, so please, please, please go ahead and fill out the form. I would really appreciate it. In terms of training resources, if you're looking for more information on everything that we just talked about and more, check out the Next Experience community blogs. They are full of information, and we are going to be doing a Zurich release extravaganza, basically, where we're going to be posting 2 articles a week for the foreseeable future to get you guys as much learning content as we can. So check out LinkedIn. Add me on LinkedIn if you'd like, and keep tabs on that for all of the awesome content we'll be coming out with. If you prefer videos or a really, really long article, check out the UI Builder 101. Check out the UI Builder 101 video here. Chris Johnson is hilarious. He is a great, great host, and he created this video to explain to you literally everything from the most basic metadata layers to basic configuration inside of ServiceNow, and his chicken makes a cameo on there. We've also got training resources on ServiceNow University. You should totally check out the brand new UI Builder Advanced course. We just released it in May. We have put in so much content into it. It is super awesome and really useful and really advanced. I highly encourage all of you guys to try it out. We have a great question here. For enabling UI Builder AI capabilities, do we need to procure any additional modules, applications related to AI or Now Assist? Yes, they should be. They should be skills that you can enable in the Now Assist admin panel. If you go under creator or platform, you'll see them there as well, and you'll be able to enable them. That's where you enable like the experience generation and things like that. Next, we've got the training workshops. If you like labs at Knowledge, you should totally check out these training workshops that we created back in 2024. They are really useful, full labs that give you all the information that you need to build a killer single page app with UI Builder, for example. That one's a lot of fun. Next, we've got specifically service operations workspace resources. I get a lot of questions about this. Specifically, SOW is one of our more difficult to configure workspaces. So you should totally check out just typing something here. Sorry, just answering a quick Q&A question. You should totally check out these links. They are coming out with a bunch of content in 2025 that is super helpful in here. And then that is it for us today. Let's go ahead and take a quick look at the survey results together before I turn it back over to Patty. Let's see. And feel free to leave comments in the chat about any of these survey questions. And I'm going to copy the link again. And for some questions that we had in the chat, the slides will be posted as a PDF on community, and the session will be uploaded on YouTube after the session. Videos get back to me and I get to edit them. So you'll be able to have access to all these links along with the video recording at a later date. So this is really interesting. I've never seen 0% on a poll before. But again, thank you guys so much for the 61 of you who've submitted a response so far. This is really going to help many teams internally at ServiceNow figure out exactly what you as our customers are looking for. And the participation is fantastic. Thank you so much. I know that it is a little bit more difficult to go grab your phone and do it separately, but this way it really helps keep the answers together for us, especially the very last question. I'm very interested to see how many of us landed somewhere on that spectrum. Next, we want full control over layout, styling, and behavior. That is, I agree. I also want full control over layout, styling, and behavior. Thank you guys so much. Very interesting. What role should AI play in building UI experiences on the platform? The majority of us say that AI should assist with layout and accessibility suggestions. And we also want best practices and automation of repetitive tasks. Awesome. And then our biggest challenge when creating end user experiences in ServiceNow is lack of guidance or best practices. Thank you guys so much. I will make sure to work on that and make that even better. And then finally, let's see our breakdown. We've got 26%. You know what? We are pretty even here. Congratulations, everybody. That's pretty cool to see. Let me go ahead and turn it over to Patty now. Thank you again so much to the 68, 69 of you who have responded here. I really appreciate it.
Gabby, can
Where's
you go
my
back to the
PowerPoint?
slides?
Yes.
Yes.
And here you go.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for joining our session. Thanks, Gabby, for providing that insightful of what's new in Zurich for UI Builder. Next week, we have 2 more new sessions on what's new in Zurich for agent experiences and for upgrade console and engine enhancements. So please make sure to check that out and see you next week. And then the next slide, please. As always, you can join other academies from our platform academies. Here's the link so you can sign up if you're not already signed up. And then the last but not least, if you're a platform owner or admin and you would be interested and available to join our feedback sessions, use this QR code to sign up. It'll include for you to include your email, and we'll be reaching out to you to schedule a 60-minute session based on your flexibility. And the questions will really be tailored on in general for the platform owner on the types of applications, platform applications that they're leveraging. These sessions are really helpful for us to get feedback so that we can enhance our enablement content for the platform owner. So please sign up, and that's it. Thank you for joining today.
Thank you all so very much for being so engaged. Thank you so much for answering the survey. I hope everybody has a great day and happy Thursday. I'm so used to saying happy Wednesday. Happy Thursday. Bye-bye.
Bye.